So let's get into the Adventure Time recap, and then we'll wrap this all up.
Yeah.
This week's episode was Ocarina, and it featured all of Jake's puppies again.
Who are no longer puppies.
Yeah,
Dogs.
They're one chronological year old and are like in their 30s or 40s biologically at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
You know, this episode features Kim Kil-won, who's now like a real estate lawyer or a tycoon or something.
Yeah.
Acquiring the deed to the treehouse from Marceline.
For a sick-ass base.
Yeah.
That base was so cool. And Marceline just didn't care. It was like, base!
Yeah. The episode opens with, all the pups and Raina Coroner waiting for Jake to show up to the birthday party. And then Jake and Finn show up super late, and everybody's disappointed. But Viola is really funny because she's trying to, convince herself that her dad was a good guy, that he was a good dad, even though Jake was kind of
We're gonna get into Jake's fatherhood stuff because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then, Kim Kil-won decides that, it's time to do something about good old dad. So he pulls the deed out on him and, I own your treehouse. And he basically sections off the treehouse to a bunch of different parts for rent. And they own the ladder.
Yeah, they sleep on the ladder.
That's the only part they're allowed to go in. Finn tries to go to the bathroom because he's just, really upset and gets stepped on. But then the person who owns the bathroom calls the police on him as a trespasser. And so they end up going to jail.
I just find it interesting that apparently their treehouse is on Candy Kingdom soil still, because they get arrested and sent to the Candy Kingdom jail.
And, Bubblegum collected taxes from them in that one episode. She was just broke into their house and started shoveling shit into a bag.
I like to think that maybe literally just Finn and Jake are their own Candy Kingdom colony, because there's nothing else around them.
Yeah, it's just the grasslands. I think that, PB just decides to rule over the grasslands because she can.
But, yeah, the whole idea of this episode is that, Kim Kil-won evicts him and tries to get his dad to get a job so he can pay rent, so he can force his dad to grow up and become more like a father figure to this adult person.
Yeah. Doesn't work.
Doesn't exactly work. In the end, he ends up giving... Jake gives Kim Kil-won a gift of a clay ocarina with no holes in it. There's no... It's solid.
Not hollow. It's solid. It's an ocarina-shaped rock.
I poked the holes in with the back of a pencil.
Yeah.
And it was a very cute episode, but there are two things thematically that I want to talk about. And one, if you follow me on my Tumblr, NikkiTheRant.tumblr.com, you've already seen this. But Jake...
Nobody follows you.
Nobody does. Jake does this allegory about the nature of the legal system. It's laws aren't meant to protect earthy cats like us. They're meant to... back in the old days, all the rough and tough mean guys took control of everything, gave all the weak guys shit, and then they made the laws around to, this is fair, this is what the status quo is, and the laws are going to protect this. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Oh, wait, this is really subversive for a children's show.
Yeah.
I forgot that not everybody knows this.
Yeah, I mean, he's, script scorpers or whatever.
That's some serious, 99% fuck the police, eat the rich stuff in a children's show. I did not...
Rich.
Yeah, eat the rich, man. Again, Adventure Time can get away with so much and really put such subversive but progressive and important ideas in and present them to a predominantly child audience. And I think that's so important,
And, Jake's perspective makes sense in the Land of Oo. The Land of Oo doesn't really have an economy, does it? That's not really a thing that people worry about. Kim Kil-won seems like he's from an era gone by. He doesn't have to be this way. A lot of people just find a hole and they live in it. It's this kind of free-for-all sort of world when you're outside a kingdom.
It probably depends on, I'm assuming he does businesses in kingdoms. Because in kingdoms, because it's from Finn and Jake's perspective, which is the perspective we see the most, they live in just a lawless area with no neighbors other than sentient woodland creatures. But then they try and spend money, which they never really do, and then they get in a couple episodes ago, and then they get a crash course in how money actually affects people who have to live an economy-based life.
Yeah.
It's possible that we're seeing Ooh through this childlike lens, and there actually is more of this kind of economy and adult world that we just don't see, because all the rulers are young, or kind of, depending on how you look at it. Bubblegum's 1,000 years old.
They're youthful.
Youthful is a good way to say it.
And then, the other big thing is...
Before we move on, they've been toying with it for a long time, with, the normalization of homosexual relationships in this show. And ultimately the reason why they haven't been able to do it is because the people in charge, whoever that is, censors...
The
network,
man.
Yeah. Evidently see that the normalization of a homosexual relationship is inappropriate for children. That's why we don't see this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure the creators would like to. The creators haven't actually mentioned their intentions about bubbling because they kind of can't. It's too much liability.
What does this have to do with...
I'm getting to this. So
okay.
If they can teach kids to fuck the police, I think they're going to eventually be the ones to break down this barrier and say, this is love, this is normal, and they're going to show us, I think, our first homosexual kiss in a children's cartoon. And it's going to be weird if somebody else does it before them, actually.
Place your bets, folks. Which tune will make the homos go-go?
Hashtag homos go-go.
And then the other thing we want to talk about is Jake. The way that they write Jake as a father, which I think is really interesting, because when they presented the idea that Jake was going to be a father, you kind of knew they were going to have to cop out of it. Otherwise, they would have to completely rewrite a lot of dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, the whole thing is that Jake and Finn are roommates, and they're brothers, and whatever. There's no commitment.
Yeah, they would have to upset the dynamics of the show to the point where it would become a completely different show. It's not just like... Finn's evolution with, his relationship with women and everything has been pretty organic and it's worked. But if Jake all of a sudden had to be a full-time dad, it wouldn't have worked. So the way they were able to write themselves out of this was by saying that his children matured extremely fast. And as far as cop-outs go, it's a pretty good one because it allows a lot, because it left a lot of characters with basically no closure. They've touched upon this before with Jake that, he misses... He was essentially ready to be a dad, and he got to do it for about a week before they grew up without him, essentially.
Yeah.
So, there's a big hole in his heart that, he dug out ready to fill with his children that he didn't have a chance to fill.
Like, even in Dungeon Train, there's a scene where he goes on top of the train, and he's like, I wonder what my kids are doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks about them.
And there was that one scene in Pahoy where he just is reminded of how old his kids are, and he just has a huge, adorable frown?
I think so, and there's the Grable where Jake Jr. shows up in the house and, tries to have a heart-to-heart with them, and he's just, still sees them as his puppies. That's what he says when he shows up at the party late. He's like, hey, puppies, they're still puppies to him. It's only been a year. Jake is a normal, magical dog. His kids are super magical dogs because they've got rainicorn in them. Yeah. And who knows what their biology's like. He wanted to raise them. He was really into it in that episode, almost too into it. He learned his lesson, but by the time he learned his lesson, they were already grown up and they're like, we don't really need you. And then now they're coming back and they're like, where did Dad go? What's his deal? Why isn't he around? And it's like, well, you said you didn't need him anymore. And he's like, okay, you don't want me to be a daddy. You don't need me to take care of you. What am I going to do? I wouldn't know how to do that either. It's like that episode of Rick and Morty we were talking about where Morty has a kid. It grows up in one day and he's just like,
you got to go through all those motions at once.
How do I be a parent to somebody that's already older than me? That doesn't make sense. You have to, you learn about the kid by growing up with the kid. If the kid grows up and magically forms this personality under your nose.
Yeah, so, the kids have, each of the kids have a different relationship with the father. Like, Viola really has created this image in her mind of Dad being this perfect guy. And it's something, again with Rick and Morty, the idea of you romanticizing an absentee parent.
Yeah. And then, TV is just like, whatever, I don't care, one way or the other. Jake Jr.'s the one we've seen have the most of a relationship with Jake. There was also that episode where she pulls that prank on, that heist thing on him. But even she is just like, Dad doesn't care, Dad just does what he wants.
Yeah, other than Viola, we've seen a lot of resentment that, that Jake hasn't been the father that they need, but also can't possibly have because of their life cycle.
Though, granted, Jake could, check up on them.
Yeah.
He could make an effort to, go and see what they're doing. Because we find out at the end of this episode, Kim Kil-won is married and already has a teenage daughter.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit, I forgot about that.
And Jake doesn't even know that.
Yeah.
At the end, Jake is like, Kim Kil-won is like, I'll call you, Dad. And Jake's like, no, I'll call you. But, he should have been calling his kids before, Jake is kind of... It's hard for him. His relationships are different. Even with Rainicorn, they're fully committed to each other. They had these children. Jake isn't going to do anything to hurt Rainicorn, but they don't live together. Oh. They still live separately from each other. And they're okay with that.
Dude, we sucked all the goddamn air out of the room. You have anything to say about that?
You guys pretty much, touched on all the points. I felt like it was a really, because, it had its funny episodes, funny moments in the episode, but, especially towards the end there, when he, gave him the titular ocarina, it got, super real and touching, and it was a really solid Adventure Time episode all around, all across the board.
I think so.
Yeah.
Though the middle part was a little annoying because it was just like, man, Kim Kil-won is a jerk.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, you and your high pants. And legs for days.
My favorite goof in that episode is when they're sleeping on the ladder and there's that little guy climbing up the ladder. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to watch my gross fat butt. I laughed for 7 minutes after that.
I felt bad for Finn, because Finn had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
He got kicked out of his house.
He was so confused. He reverted back to, season 2 Finn who was so naive and just didn't understand the world. And it's poor Finn.
All right. So we've been going along. That has been episode 5, 6? Who cares? Of the Toon Goons.
Episode 6.
Episode 6 of the Toon Goons. We've been us, the Toon Goons.
Next
episode is going to be Space Dandy, another Adult Swim show. It's on Toonami.
It's an anime.
It's our first anime.
Yeah.
Just started its second season. There's not that much. There's 14 episodes, 15 episodes?
Yeah, something like that.
It won't be too hard to catch up on.
Sci-fi month.
Sci-fi month. Remember that? I did it.
We're really put together on this show.
So, as always, you can contact us by email. We're thetoongoons@gmail.com. Our Tumblr is thetoongoons.tumblr.
Our website.
Yeah, our main website is our Tumblr, which is thetoongoons.tumblr.com. We got a Twitter, at thetoongoons. It's the same stuff on everything.
Hashtag, tweet at us, hashtag Toon Goons, so we can read your tweets. We don't have any tweets to read, but we did have this awesome person, Weathervane, who... found us because of her love for Wander, said, reblogged us on Tumblr. This is a really good podcast. Gotta check out the rest of the episodes. Thank you very much, Weathervane, for sharing with your followers. We really appreciate it. And anybody else, all the new followers we got, all the Wander people really latched on the last episode. They were really happy with it. We're glad you liked it.
That's awesome.
I think that's everything.
More or less.
We did it.
Yeah, are you sure you don't want to explain the theme song?
I'll do that in post.
We can just explain it now.
All right. The thing with the theme song...
yeah, sorry about...
As of this recording, we don't have one again because the person who we commissioned to compose our theme song subconsciously copied a hook from another song and has asked that we not use it anymore. They're currently working on a replacement, which may be done by the time this actually goes online. And I actually may go back and re-upload the past episode to take the song out. So that's been Toon Goons.
Also, remember, we're on iTunes. Rate us on iTunes.
Oh, please,
subscribe to us on iTunes.
please do that.
It was so hard to do it, but we did it, and we would love for you to do that.
We're tired.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Gotta say it the same way every time. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was a hot fucking mess.
I don't know what.